Raconteurs News.
Bum, bum, bum.
Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News on this Tuesday, the 19th of May. This shirt, I think, perhaps will work on this with this green screen. But, you know, you find things hard, don't you, as you get on. Yeah, it is the 19th of May 2020, and I don't know what sort of day we're on for this mad lockdown, but it's certainly a load of days. There's loads of other stuff going on as well. There'll be a 4-foot crocodile has been spotted at a West Yorkshire nature reserve today, I read. The 4-foot long thing was spotted at Fairburn Ings, which is a nature reserve apparently, and they've got themselves a crocodile, so congratulations to them. Anyway, let's get into tonight's show, because I think we might only have our guest for an hour, but at least he's here tonight. He's definitely here tonight. But I'm going to introduce our guest co-host for this evening from what's it called? False Flags and Media Hoaxes. It's Jason Green. Good evening, Jason. How you doing, my old friend?
I'm all right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent.
Should be a good show. Looking forward to hearing from Dave.
Yeah, from our friend, and we've had him on a couple of times. He's not exactly a Raconteurs News virgin. He's been on a couple of times. So welcome back to Raconteurs News, Dave Vonkleist. How you doing, my friend?
I'm well. How are you doing over there across the pond?
Yeah, we're doing we're not doing so well. I think we're all in prison. We're allowing it to happen, and it's not really very good. A very good situation that we find ourselves in. Of course, we can alleviate all the frustration by banging pots and pans on a Thursday night for the NHS and stuff like that. But what's it like stateside? What's it like where you are? Are you on lockdown?
Well, we're on we're not lockdown. There's all kinds of restrictions. A lot of businesses have closed. Some have opened, but they have all kinds of rules that they have to follow. Luckily, it's not like being in a big city. I'm way up in the Northwest in Montana, in Northwest Montana. So I'm a bit removed from the big city atmosphere that's going on around the country, and a lot of people are getting very angry and upset for obvious reasons. And I'm trying to figure out how come that people aren't taken to the streets in across the pond there in Britain. What's going on over there? Everybody sound asleep?
We really are, aren't we? Go on, Jason. I'll let you go.
Yeah, sorry. There's been some protests, haven't there? Nothing like we've seen in America and some places, but there's been a few protests. I saw Piers Morgan, not Piers Morgan, Corbyn. I always get them two mixed up. Jeremy Corbyn's brother, he got arrested the other day at a protest. So there's been some small ones, but yeah, compared with America, we are fast asleep and we're just bending over and taking it.
I don't know. I don't know. It seems to me that all of this is so easily researched, and unfortunately, there are so many people out there. Well, let me start off by saying this. I'll ask a question of the listeners: do you trust your government? Yes or no?
Well, no. I'd say no, but I'm not a listener.
Yeah. Well, most people will say, of course not. All right, so next question. Do you trust the media?
No.
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 All right. So we got a no for government and a no for the media. Next question. Where do most people get their official information?
From the media.
From the media and the government.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if everybody bases their opinion on misinformation or disinformation or a lie, doesn't it stand to reason that the opinion is an extension of the lie?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So the point is that it's the old garbage in, garbage out. You know, I mean, if you're being fed intellectual fecal matter, then what ends up in your head is intellectual fecal matter. You know, I mean, This is hard to figure out. So the point is, though, is we all know that they're lying to us. And yet so many people out there, as soon as you challenge anything that you get from the official sources of information, whether they be government or the media, as soon as somebody challenges it, the first thing people scream is tinfoil hat, conspiracy theory. Oh, you're nuts. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's just amazing. It is just amazing. The people's ability of cognitive skills or logic seems to have been bred out of our species to some extent. I don't know.
Dave, somebody in the chat room, when we get you as someone like yourself on, we automatically expect that people know who you are and know your body of work and what you've done before. So somebody in the chat room, and I know she's a regular, she's from Sweden, and she just just give us a brief background for yourself, you know, the stuff that you've done in the truth movement, and of course your music as well, because you're a musician, aren't you?
Yeah, I've always been a musician ever since I was a young child, in my teens, young adult. I mean, I spent the most of my young adult years chasing after the golden ring, and you know, I wanted to be a big successful musician, and that was all through the 70s. And I also got my broadcaster's license in '79 because I have a decent speaking voice. And so I was doing radio character voices, commercials, PSAs, stuff like that. And then in the early 90s, I was working at a television station in New Haven, Connecticut. It was WTNH Channel 8. And while I was there during, it was the first Gulf War, with George Bush Sr. and Schwarzkopf and Powell, I saw some raw feeds that were coming in from overseas. And the raw feeds were of absolute carnage. I saw our military dozers dozing bodies into a common grave.
Just to let people know what a live feed is. During that time, when satellite TV really took off, and anything that was being recorded, when it wasn't supposed to be being recorded, it wasn't it? I mean, there were a lot of incidents where people were being recorded, and you could pick these live feeds up and watch them, so that you could watch what was going on between the actual segments of the show. Right. If that's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Well, what it is that the networks have news crews all over the world. And of course, here in the United States, the evening news is usually on at around 6 o'clock. So during the afternoon, the different news teams around the world will take their video footage and they'll shoot it via satellite back to the network headquarters, where they will assemble it for the news broadcast. So when they're beaming this stuff back, it's not on the air, but all of the affiliate stations are picking this up. So the point is that when all of these feeds are coming back from overseas, like I said, they're not on the air. So you're getting to see the raw footage before it's edited. So that's the point. So the thing was I had seen this carnage. And of course, that evening, the ABC News reported that there were no civilian casualties, and I knew they were lying through their teeth. So this sort of set me off on a path. At the time, like I said, I was a staff announcer at the TV station, but that inspired me and motivated me to get into doing talk radio. So I ended up with a radio show in a little town called Waterbury, Connecticut, WATR AM 1320. And from there, I ended up connecting with Joyce Riley, who I eventually married, and the two of us were very, very strong-worded veteran supporters, and which eventually led to a radio talk show on the GCN network, which we did for, well, we did it together for a decade. And so that's how I got into my broadcasting career. Now, during that time, I was on the air the morning of September 11th. And so I told all of the listeners to put a videotape in, start taping any network you can. So that's what they did. And in the coming weeks, I ended up with a box full of videotapes. I had like 65, 70 videotapes to go through. And I had all the live footage from all of the networks and all of the local television stations in the New York City area, WPIX, WOR, WNEW, WJAR, all the local stations. And what happened shortly after that is George Bush was on television, and he basically said, we got to stop showing these terrible attacks on America no more, because America needs time to heal. So they stopped showing the replays. And it occurred to me that ABC has ABC footage. NBC has NBC footage. CBS has CBS footage. CNN and Fox, they all have their own footage. I had a box filled with videotapes of all the live footage. So when I started going through it, I realized that I was probably the only location in the country that had access to all the footage. I felt that it was my obligation, my duty, to put this information out. And that's where the first documentary film, 9/11 in Plain Sight, came from. And in the years that followed, I mean, that video, I mean, you know about that video. It went viral. It was all over the world. It was on television in Eastern Europe. It was on in Japan. It was on in Australia. Not in the United States, not in the UK, but the rest of the world got to see it. And so that led to, a lot of attacks. People just did not like you going against the official story. So, but at the same time, while I was getting, all of this bad stuff coming in, I was also getting contacted from people who I knew previously during the Gulf War years, a lot of military people, intelligence people. And they said, hey, Dave, you're asking some very tough questions. And I said, yes, I am. Would you like to talk about it? And they said, sure. So that's where the sequel came out. That was 9/11 Ripple Effect, where I spoke to General Stubblebine and Colonel George Nelson and Russ Wittenberg and what's his name? Michael, not Mike McDonald. I can't remember his name. But anyway, point is that second documentary film was released in 2007. And since that time, like I said, things went really crazy, and I got sick of the ball game. If you can't win when you're sitting at a table full of cheaters. So I basically got up from the table and moved away. I said, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to Argentina. So I went to Argentina for a few years. But that's basically the nutshell. That's sort of what happened with the documentary films. But during that time, we also produced a couple of other documentary films. One is called One Nation Under Siege. And it's funny because about a week ago, I was on Facebook and somebody was putting up a watch party and they put that documentary film up. And I hadn't seen it since, probably 2006, I don't know, something like that, 2005. And I hadn't watched it. And I was really surprised because in some of that documentary film, I had been interviewed and asked about specific subjects, which leads us now to where we are today. Now, I'm going to share with you a video, a clip, if you will, from the documentary One Nation Under Siege. Now, again, this was 15 years ago, and I don't know how I knew it then, but apparently, I don't know, I was on it then, and I guess I'm on it now. Here's a clip. Now, again, this is 15 years ago, folks. Here we go.
Rex 84 that was released. And in this project, or this plan, they called for all the bases that were being closed down from the budget cuts, the military budget cuts. These bases closed down However, when you go back to some of these bases today and take a look at them, there's a very interesting thing that's occurred. The military bases used to have fences with barbed wire that faced out to keep people from the outside from getting into a secure area. Now a lot of these bases that have been closed down has the barbed wire facing in, as if to keep people from the inside from getting out. Now, why would this occur? Is it possible that there is or was a long-term plan that would eventually anticipate rounding up large numbers of people to withhold them? Now, we apply this into a scenario today. We know that we've got these terrible terrorists all over the world that want to do us harm. And we know that there's the threat of chemical and biological attack. In the event that there was a biological attack, or maybe an outbreak of a virus or a flu, and the powers that be had a plan for mandatory vaccinations for everybody, undoubtedly there would be a lot of people, myself included, that would refuse to take a mandatory vaccine. Is it possible that they've anticipated this and are going to want to round up all the people that refuse to comply and hold them in detention centers for their own good? Is it possible that this whole plan has been in place for decades?
That was 15 years ago, folks.
That's just, that is, well, it's quite uncanny, really. The situation we find ourselves in at the moment. I mean, someone's put Don Tellingpike in the chat rooms, but that's scary. And it is, and that is really is scary, because, you know, these are things that that we've been talking about for a number of years, and you're bang on there, and that's 15 years ago. What's that? What was that? 2007? Did you say?
That was 2005. It was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, believe me, there's no satisfaction in "I told you so." Believe me. You know, I've been trying to scream some of this stuff from the rooftops for you know, well over almost 2 decades, and unfortunately, so many people are resistant to taking in this new information because they've been force-fed day after day after day the conventional wisdom from the mainstream media, which we, as we've already discussed, are not worthy of your trust. So, you know, I mean, we're dealing with an agenda that's been around for a long, long time. We know that I mean, for the past 20, 25 years, we've known that the agenda of the globalist elite is to have a one world government, a one world religion, a one world currency. Now, the only way they can have a one world government is they're going to have to level the playing field of all the countries. So is common sense. Are they going to raise the standard of living of all the third world nations to first world status, like the US or the UK or Europe? Are they going to raise all the third world nations to that level? Or wouldn't it be easier to lower the standard of living in the Western countries back down to third world status?
A race to the bottom you're talking about, aren't you?
I'm sorry?
We've always talked about that, a race to the bottom.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's what it's been like. Jason, I mean, you've been sat there. I know that you're sat opposite, and we're definitely at least 2 meters apart, all of us. So I think we're going to be all right. But Jason, I know you're a big Dave Vonkleist fan, and you've been looking forward to this. Well, I just thought it's perhaps you might want to just ask Dave a question.
Well, definitely. I was saying before, sure to Dave, how much sort of respect I've got. It were 9/11 ripple effects what opened my eyes to how things are. You were saying earlier about, do we trust the government? And no, I can't remember ever trusting the government, but I did used to trust the media. And now I thought any kind of scandal like that, there'd be somebody working away, investigative journalists, and they'd expose something like 9/11. I think what really shocked me were, after seeing 9/11 ripple effect, was seeing how the media work and cover things up. I mean, it's departmentalised into a lot of it. I think they probably don't realise they're covering up something like that. But just seeing it sort of revealed to me how they work, and that was the biggest shock for me to get over. I just think the media was like the friend of the people, but that's not the case, is it? Definitely not now. It's got worse over the years.
We have to basically understand that the media, whether it be the BBC or CNN or any of the main news outlets, all of them, every single one without exception, is influenced by their advertisers, period. Now, here in the States, I don't know what it's like over there right now in the UK, but here in the States, no matter what network news program you watch, you'll notice that most of the advertising is from big pharma. So the point is that none of the networks are going to do anything to rock the boat as far as the shareholders and profit takers of big pharma are concerned. So this is why, I mean, we look at people like Bill Gates and George Soros and all the other people with deep pockets and how much money that they have invested in their drugs and their vaccines, et cetera, and where they advertise those products. So the point is that you're going to almost literally have big pharma shoved down your throat every time you watch a news program, you know, and common sense will tell you that, well, for example, NBC is owned by General Electric. General Electric is one of the top 5 military contractors. Okay, so you have 2 major influencing factors on network news. You've got big pharma and you've got the military industrial complex. I mean, we see commercials on TV for Lockheed and Boeing. I mean, who the heck is going to go out and buy an airliner? Why would they have a commercial for Boeing when the average consumer isn't doing any business with them? It's PR. It's the money. So when we're looking at situations like, for instance, a year ago last January, Bill Gates was interviewed on MSNBC. And again, this is a year ago. We're talking 16 months ago, almost a year and a half, long before the COVID-19 crisis. And he was on MSNBC explaining that he had invested $10 billion into this vaccine program. And he's expecting a 200% return. So he's investing $10 billion. He's expecting $200 billion back on his investment. Now, he's just one investor. How many other investors have sunk mega bucks into these vaccine programs? So they're going to do everything that they can to push the vaccines because they want a return on their investment. That's real simple. It's not hard to understand. So any type of information that might come up, like for instance, the big debate right now is whether hydrochloroquine is going to help people who are suffering from COVID-19. I mean, hydrochloroquine's been around for 70 years, and they never had a problem with that. It's FDA approved. They use it for all kinds of stuff. But now...
is that the anti-malaria drug?
Yeah. And so now all of a sudden, because COVID-19 is now on the scene, and because you have billions and billions of dollars being invested into the vaccine program to fight off this terrible coronavirus, now all of a sudden the hydrochloroquine is being demonized, ridiculed, and they're saying it's dangerous, it's this and that. But it's been around for 70 years with no problem. So, I mean, you have to look at what the agenda is. Follow the money. Follow the money. It's not hard to figure out. It really isn't. Cheers.
Big Pharma, I suppose, making we have tighter regulations on what pharmaceutical companies can advertise in this country than I believe you do in the States. I know that you get all sorts of things that are. Look, I've downloaded stuff and I've watched American television, and I know for a fact that you get more commercials. And there's, I think it's 12 minutes in this country per hour in commercials. but they sort of pad that out with stuff that's their own, so they can advertise their own programs and things like that, and that doesn't add to the 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think in the States it's a lot less stiff than that, and I think that they can also more. There are perhaps drugs that are advertised on American TV that you just wouldn't. I believe we're catching you up because we've started getting these Viagra things on TV all the time. But I think there's more difference because of the healthcare system. So you can get your healthcare provider to provide you with that sort of thing, whereas with us it's NHS, so you get what you're given, really. You understand? So there's no, they wouldn't be that that need for them to advertise. But I think in the States it's a lot different.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have two different systems of healthcare, and so that is obviously going to influence how your PR or advertising dollars are spent and how they're spent. So anyways, I mean, I can't address, compare US versus UK advertising policies, but I think we both know that they have, pretty much the same agenda. It's the methodology that I guess is going to change simply because of your broadcast policies versus US broadcast policies.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we pretty much just get BBC, which is like the British bullshit corporation, as we call them. But, they really do just the odd time things are getting through. A couple of days ago, there was a story about somebody who'd been on being interviewed on the BBC. He was a snooker player, and he called the COVID-19 a hoax, the old lot, and said that it's all been a complete overreaction. Yeah. And of course, he's been pulled from pillar to post. But I think there's more and more people doing it. Jason, have we had more people, coming out in this country? More well-known people.
Well, I think who I was most surprised, not this country, but Elon Musk. I think it was Joe Rogan, when he was saying the same kind of thing. And I was surprised because for me, he's like establishment into Elon Musk. So, as I say, I was surprised to hear it from him, but he was saying that it's all hype.
Yeah. Hey, have you by chance had a chance to see the SatLink train of satellites?
Yeah.
I don't
know. Oh yeah,
that's pretty wild. A couple of weeks ago, I was standing outside and I looked up and I saw what I thought was a satellite. I said, "Oh, that's nifty. I've seen satellites before." Oh my, there's another one. Wow. Oh, and another one. Oh my gosh, 4 of them. And they just kept coming. I lost count at like 25. I saw them just all following each other across the sky. I've never seen that before.
I think they were supposed to be 60, but then they stopped for a while, and now we apparently we can see them again. I spotted somewhere yesterday an article saying that we'd be able to see him again in this next couple of days. So it's like 9/11. It's when they get you to look up. That's when you've got to be at your most defensive, because what they did on 9/11 is planes crashed into whatever you believe, whether it were planes or explosions or whatever. But while everyone were looking up, all the gold was coming out below.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
So it's when they get you to look up, that's when you've got to look. That's when you've got to be most on your guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you wonder there must be all kinds of things going on while we're being distracted by this COVID. I know you can't help but be distracted.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
imagine what's going on.
Well, here in the States, first of all, I want to preface this by saying I am no friend of either the Republicans or the Democrats. I am very well documented and established as being, a non-party member.
Apolitical.
I'm sorry?
Apolitical.
There you go. Okay. However, what's happened in the past, I would say decade and a half, is that the Democratic Party has really changed. I mean, they're getting very, very, very far to the left. I mean, to the extreme left. And what's happened is that as this has happened, you know, for instance, well, let's just go back and look at the Trump years. When Trump was elected, before he was even sworn in, before the inauguration, the Democrats were screaming, impeach him, impeach, impeach, impeach. So then he got sworn in, and it was Russia collusion, Russia. I mean, for 2.5 years, they were screaming about that. And then they had the Mueller investigation, and they said, oh, this will get him. This'll nail him to the cross. Well, it didn't. It actually exonerated him. And in doing so, and then there was the Stormy Daniels thing. They were screaming about Stormy Daniels, you know, the sexual.
Explain. The stripper, weren't she, Stormy Daniels?
Yeah. Well,
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, that happened, 13, 14 years ago, long before he got into the Oval Office. But no mention about Bill Clinton and his tryst with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. So there's a bit of hypocrisy going on there. I'm not condoning Trump's behavior. I think he's crass, vile. I think he's sexist. I don't think, you know, he's very well spoken. He's got a huge ego. I got a bunch of problems with him. However, the Democrats were just going absolutely BS crazy to try to get him, you know, to discredit him and get him thrown out. So they tried the Mueller investigation, and that blew up in their face. They were screaming Stormy Daniels, and that blew up in their face. And then, of course, there was the issue about the, like I said, the Mueller investigation, the impeachment. There was the Steele dossier, which we now know was based on fraud, paid for by the Clinton Foundation. And the fraudulent documents from the Steele dossier is what they used to get the FISA warrants, and those were all invalid. And so everything that the Democrats are doing keeps blowing up in their face. And then enter Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, sex trafficking, child molestation, satanic cult worship. I mean, all of a sudden, all this stuff keeps blowing up in their face. Oh, and then there's the issue about the Ukraine. And they were saying Trump was in collusion, quid pro quo. And it turns out that it was Joe Biden and his son who literally were pulling off the quid pro quo. So everything that the Democrats keep on doing is blowing up in their face for the past 3.5 years. Now, let's put that on hold for a minute. Look what was going on all over the world last summer. There were protests in Greece, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, and to a certain extent, right there in the UK. Now, these world leaders are not real fond of having people in the streets demonstrating. And then there's Hong Kong. Oh my gosh, 1 million people in the streets in Hong Kong. How do you suppose all these world leaders would get everybody off of the streets and shut them down? Who would benefit from an outbreak? You see where I'm going with this? The point is that now you start putting the puzzle pieces together. Who has the patents on the coronavirus? Who was funding the lab in Wuhan? We find out that Bill Gates has patents on the coronavirus. We also find out that Anthony Fauci had siphoned $3.7 million from the National Institute of Health to Wuhan, China laboratory to continue the research on the coronavirus, which they had a moratorium on here in the States back in 2014. You can't research you can't research the coronavirus here. It's too dangerous. So you can't do it in the United States. What do? They sidestep it. They set it up in Wuhan, China. And then, of course, there's Event 201, which happened October. And they were talking about a epidemic, a pandemic that would be devastating to the U.S. economy. Now, let's throw in a couple of other puzzle pieces. Bill Maher and many other Democrats have stated openly, and I can quote Bill Maher, if it takes crashing the U.S. economy to get rid of Trump, well, then so be it. Now, put all these puzzle pieces together. We have all this stuff blowing up in the Democrats' face, all kinds of negative press coming out, and links with all these very powerful people to the Epstein orgy island via the Lolita Express. And I'm sure you know about Prince Andrew over there. So the point is that all this negative press is going out, towards the Democrats. They have to stop the focus on the FISA warrants and the Steele dossier and quid pro quo Joe and his son Hunter, and the fraud. Of course, there's the 33,000 missing emails from Hillary, and now it's all leading up to the top of the food chain, which is Obama. The Democrats were desperate to stop all this negative press, and the world leaders are desperate to get people off of the streets. So now we come to the $10,000 question: who benefits from the COVID-19 pandemic? Now there's no discussion whatsoever about quid pro quo. There's no discussion about Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein or the FISA warrants or the Steele dossier. All that stuff now is forgotten because the media,
or Prince Andrew or any of that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
We had a question from the chat room from the Webster report. Paul Webster, who you've spoken to on this show. He used to co-host this show with me. So, and he wanted to know what you thought of QAnon. What your thoughts were on that organization, if that's what it is.
Well, I'm not quite sure. My jury's still out on that. I know that there's always going to be controlled opposition, and I'm having my doubts. I mean, let's face it, Trump. Everybody would like to think that maybe Trump is an outsider and he's not part of the established GOP, which he's not, but he's still part of the elite. And I can't help but think that sometimes that maybe Donald Trump and Hillary get together on a monthly basis and tip champagne glasses, compare notes, and figure out what their next move is going to be, because the whole right-left paradigm, the Republican, the Demopublican debate, it's all for public consumption. There's so much stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, just like in your country, you've got, the Labor versus the Tories versus, it's all for public consumption. We all know that the public policy is going to be set one way or the other, the way they want it to be done. They just want everybody to think that they have some sort of control by going off and voting. But we all know that that's an exercise in futility. We've been seeing this happen for decade after decade after decade. It's the same fecal matter, just different people.
Well, actually, whilst you're on, I want to, because I've had some dreams before that have come to fruition. Now, I had a dream last night that David Cameron became our Prime Minister again. So I just want that on record, so that if that ever happens, which could happen in I think there was some sort of situation. It was a dream that I'm having it. Whenever you sort of wake up, then you go back to sleep, and you're dreaming I'm having, and I'm seeing David Cameron writing down, starting to become Prime Minister again. So if that happens, you heard it here first on Raconteurs News with Dave Vonkleist and Jason Green, my co-host tonight. Let's say hello to some of the people in the chat room. Hello to you, Apple Charlotte. It is nice to see you back and have you back spannering everybody. Super Leeds, good on you. New being as well. Chris O'Rourke, good to see you. It's all good stuff. Owen Lloyd Martin as well. He's over in Portugal. There's just so we're over the entire world. Although we missed out on Australia last night, as you probably know, because I did notice that you did say a couple of things on the Facebook chat, so you knew that our guest didn't turn up last night.
Yeah, I was watching. I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, you asked me about the QAnon. I said, my jury is still out. You know, they keep on saying trust the plan, but now I have to ask: is trust the plan really sit on your hands? Are we being given the false impression that something is actually being done? Trust the plan. Be patient. Be patient. Just wait. It'll all happen. Hey, wait a second. It's been 3.5 years since Donald Trump said he's going to drain the swamp. And I'm waiting for one person right now, just one, to go down the drain. It hasn't happened yet. So what is all this about draining the swamp? What is this really? I mean, I look back over the past several decades, and I look, okay, for instance, with the 9/11 thing, we all know that there were very, very guilty people involved in the planning and the execution of the 9/11 attacks. And it leads right back up. I mean, there's a grand jury investigation right now here in the States that's naming a lot of these people as war criminals. I mean, Dick Cheney, George Bush, Paul Bremer, Condoleezza Rice. Why has nobody ever been questioned or even goes to jail over this stuff? So that's why I'm saying, you know, they got it down to a science. I mean, I remember back with the Oklahoma City bombing. The Oklahoma City bombing, I mean, or Waco. I mean, this goes on for decade after decade, and none of the guilty party ever gets indicted or accused, let alone goes to jail. I mean, there's blatant, obviously, treason going on. It's rampant. It's institutionalized. And it's not just here in the States. It's over there in the UK as well. And that's why I started off, you know, the program to saying, hey, why aren't some of you Brits out in the streets? We've all been, shall we say, intellectually neutered. You know, we're anatomically incorrect Ken dolls at this point because nobody's got the nuggies to do anything anymore. What's happened to us? We're going to get all the tyranny we deserve. Just sit back. You get all the government you want.
No, but yeah, we're not going to get the government we deserve because we deserve a fucking better one because we've been trying and trying and trying. It's just that the other pieces of crap and are dragging us down with them. You know what I mean? Like Adi said, Adi used to be on this show. He said before I could see a conspiracy. I could see that they were making money, and I could see that they were doing this, and this is how they were robbing this, and they were doing that. But it never actually influenced my life, and now it has. You know, we've had this. We've had people saying, "Oh, we've got this great awakening." We've not got this great awakening. Everyone's still indoors. Everyone's still, you know, the great awakening is difficult for a start. You know what it's like when you first become awake, you know. And so we're waiting for people to catch up, and while we're waiting for all these people to catch up, the government are implementing the draconian measures that we're getting, and you know, there you go. I'm just going to kiss my wife because she's going to bed, I think.
No, I was just
Oh, she was just looking at the dog. Sorry. Sorry. But yeah, it's like you said. You said that 15 years ago. Is that the reason why they could be doing that? You know, these old American air bases, and then you notice that they used to go outside, and now they go in. You know, they go inside to used to be to prevent you from getting in, and now it's to prevent you from getting out. You know, I mean. What's down the line? And we all used to laugh. Let's just face it. We all used to, you know, you just say, oh no, this is definitely not happening. And this is where me and Jason live. There's a place, a shopping mall, as you call it, called Meadowhall.
Yeah.
And there's always been rumours that there were lots and lots of coffins that were in Meadowhall, that were in a storage space. Have you heard this, Jason?
I've heard that there's like a urban myth type thing, but I think it's body bags, isn't it? Apparently, somebody had seen through doorways of like hundreds of body bags, but then like I've heard it said that they're not body bags of them, you know, like bags that keep clothing, like suits and things to keep dust off them when they're storing bags away. So who knows?
Yeah, but we've all heard all these stories, haven't we? Right, and we've all heard all these stories, and we've all heard these predictions that there's going to be a virus that's going to get us all, and we're all going to die. And then suddenly here we are, and the virus seems to be the fear. The fear seems to be the virus rather than anything medical at all. Tom's has put on just asked a question. Just said, can you ask Dave his thoughts on the contact tracing app?
Well, anything that's going to invade your privacy is not something that I want to be involved with. You know, I mean, again, this could be the camel's nose under the tent. You know, I mean, I'm very leery about any type of contact with any government agency whatsoever. So no, I'm not into this contact tracing. And besides, all of this stuff, all of it, and you stop and think about this COVID-19, you look at the fatality rate, what is it, 0.1? You know, I mean, we had back, how many years ago, we had the H1N1, we had the SARS, we've had other outbreaks before, and with even higher death rates. But we never, ever saw this type of hysterical reaction, total global shutdown, restrictions on travel, restrictions on where you know, what you do, everything. So there is absolutely an agenda here. Now, the question is, people have to be able to stop and say, what is the agenda? Why is this outbreak different from every other outbreak? And I'll tell you, for those of you who've been paying attention for the past couple of decades, you know that the globalists, as we mentioned before, they have an agenda. They want their one world government. They want a one world religion. They want a one world financial system. The only way that they can bring that about is to level the playing field globally and scare the living crap out of people so that they'll all stand in line and volunteer to get themselves vaccinated and chipped. Now, once that happens, once you get that chip, you are a slave forever. There's no way out of it. If you have a chip in your hand and they say, okay, well, all your medical records are here. Isn't that wonderful? And your bank records are here. Isn't that wonderful? Everything you have is right here. You don't need keys for your car. You don't need keys for your house. Everything is right here. Isn't that great?
Right, Logan's Run.
If you step out of line, they'll just turn you off, and then you're done. So this is what I see as the agenda. They are desperate to get this in place because the world is waking up. That's why, as I mentioned before, there are demonstrations going on all over the world last year. People are finding out that what the system that we're living in the Western world, this matrix, and that's exactly what it is. It's a matrix. People are finding out that it's all BS, and there's a different way. There's a different attitude. And the powers that be know that different way and that different attitude, that different consciousness is going to destroy their power structure, and they can't have that. So they've moved into high gear right now, and that's why okay, pardon my tinfoil hat, but it's not really a tinfoil hat. It's actually a warrior's truth helmet, all right? Same with all you people out there listening. Don't let them tell you you're wearing a tinfoil hat. But the bottom line here is you're starting to find out that some of these tinfoil hat people might actually have a valid opinion and might have their opinions based on reality, history, and facts. Now, we all know that the globalists, what they want. And if we continue down the path we're on right now, by God, they're going to get it. So, well, not from me. They won't get it from me, and I'm sure they won't get it from you. But unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of the globalist sheeple population will gladly stand right in line and get that vaccine and get that chip. Not for me. Sorry. Ciao.
Yeah. Well,
Bye.
I mean, you said that 15 years ago. You said that you weren't going to have a vaccine or a chip.
Yeah.
We've already seen that, and we're the same. I'm sure Jason and myself and everybody that's listening to us is of the opinion that they won't get it. They won't get it. The only way they're getting a vaccine is someone holding them down and forcing them. And then when we get to that, then if we get to that point, then this dystopian future that we've been thinking about is going to be much worse if we don't resist.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think saying about having to be pinned down to have it. I think before that they'll not say it's law that you've got to have it, but they'll say you can only work if you've had it. You can only go in certain places if you've had the vaccine or you've got the chip. I mean, going back to that contact tracing app, it's just one step away from having a chip, isn't it? And you can see that coming.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're not going to force you to take the chip. You don't have to take it if you don't want to, but if you want to participate in our economic system, I'm afraid you'll have to do that. Yeah. I mean, it's your choice. It's your choice. You don't have to get that chip if you don't want. But, I mean, if you want to be able to, get a bank account, or if you want to go to the doctor, or if you want to buy something, you'll have to have the chip. Yeah. But it's your choice. You don't have to have it. But if you want to eat, you'll have to have it. You see how that's going to play that? They got you coming and going.
Yeah, and it's going to be in your case, not so much in our case because we've got an NHS, if we still have an NHS after this, but in your case, I mean, it might be a prerequisite to getting insurance, medical insurance. Yeah. Is being vaccinated and having the chip in, and that's how easy it is. But we've got to fight against this, and there are people that are fighting. It's people like me and you, Dave and Jason as well, who've been in for a long time. We've seen so many false dawns, haven't we? But but this dawn here. We've seen dawns. We've also seen other false dawns where the dawn is the dystopia is just around the corner, but then it don't happen. It's just a fear thing, and now we're in it. And you're in Minnesota. I don't know. That's northwest.
No, I'm in Montana.
Montana.
That's a way farther. Way up there.
Sorry, it begins with M. It's the same thing. So America's that big, but you're seeing these rules implemented. We're all having to deal with them. I mean, what's the cure? What's the magic's wand that we need to do? What will tell people? Do we need to wear things that say? Do we need to all buy T-shirts that say, "Look, I'm okay with you if you need to stay 2 meters away from me, but I'm not bothered if you come close to me because I don't believe it." That sort of thing. Do we need some sort of? I was speaking to my mum and dad today, and the thing is that the 2 meter thing is okay. Is it? If you don't care about the 2 meters, it's okay. But the other person that you're interacting with, they might care about that 2 meters. That might be important to them. So you don't want to invade their 2 meters. So it's self-perpetuating that we stay in this 2 meters apart society.
Well, if you say so, but I'm not paying attention to that. I'm just living my life the way I normally do. And if somebody else is upset, I mean, I'll respect their particular space. I won't get in their space. But I mean, I'm not going to allow, these policies or these rules come between me and my own personal freedom. So, I mean, it's a matter of choice. And if I have to resist, well, then I will resist, you know. But I mean, I will not live under tyranny. It's just not going to happen. As the saying goes, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And hey, look, I'm ready to go. I've been fighting this stuff. Well, you guys know, I've been fighting this for, God, 20, 25 years. I don't know, a couple of decades anyway. So, yeah, well, since 90, 3 decades. What can I say? So,
don't you sometimes yearn back to the old days? You know, when doing the power hour. You know, on my radio show, I put that picture up of you. And I know it's not very flattering, the one that I put up as but it was the one I remember. That was my first foray into 9/11 truth, and I don't even know why. I think I just used to come in from work, and I worked as an nightclub DJ, so it'd be like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just searched internet for that things, and I found 9/11 in plain sight, and I think I watched it over and over and over and over and over again. And,
well, I would suggest if people out there that are listening to the program, you want to see one of the documentaries, go to the second film called 9/11 Ripple Effect. It's much more powerful, and it's got much more information than the first film. So, I mean, that's why it's a sequel. So, but anyway, we're coming up on the top of the hour here. Unfortunately, I can't stay for your second hour, but I want to thank you for inviting me on. And hopefully I've been able to contribute some information here that to get everybody else's wheels turning in their craniums. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, Dave, thanks for giving us an hour.
Oh, absolutely.
It's always a pleasure. And I know that, you know, in a couple of weeks' time, if there's, I can give you a quick call and you'll give us another hour as well. So giving us an hour of your time is absolutely fantastic. Myself and Jason will continue for the show. Might even drag Webby on if he's about. But yeah, Dave, go on, carry on.
I was just going to say, in a month's time, we may be looking at an entirely different world. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I think they're going to pull this very slowly, very incrementally. The term boiling the frog comes to mind. Also, the term softening the target comes to mind. So I think this is just the beginning, folks. I mean, they're saying that, oh, get used to the new normal. I don't like the new normal. I like the old normal better. But they're trying to get everybody used to all of these new policies and restrictions. So when more come down the road, you won't bitch as much. You know, get used to it. You know, it's the new normal. No, folks, you're being conditioned. This is called social engineering. You're being manipulated. You're being herded. And for the most part, you're not saying anything. So much for your freedom. You only get out of it what you put into it. If you put nothing into it, you ain't going to get nothing out. So. And
I agree, absolutely. Jason, have you got anything, any last words you want to say to Dave before we have to say bonjour, as Del Boy would say?
Yeah, I was just thinking, do you think this COVID-19 is more of a dry run? Do you think they've got another disease waiting around the corner, maybe a couple of years when they've got us used to this kind of thing, but then they might actually have a serious disease to release and start wiping people out and putting into practice?
I mean, we're looking at a multi-step process right now. Step one is where we are right now with COVID-19. Okay. Step two is a financial crunch, which I think we're all experiencing now. Step three is going to be the food shortages. Oh dear. Now, I don't know how it's going to be there in the UK, but here in the United States, we have meat packing plants that are closing. We have ranchers that are being told to euthanize their herds. They're destroying chickens. They're destroying pigs. They're destroying crops. They have mountains of potatoes that are rotting. They're dumping milk. Now, the bottom line here is that this is going to result in a food shortage in all the major cities. Now, once the food shortages happen, stop and think for a second. Look at what people do to each other on Black Friday here in the States, right after Thanksgiving. All of a sudden, the Christmas sale comes and the people are killing each other for a toaster. What do you suppose they're going to do about food? So we'll see some civil unrest. And then, of course, there'll be a second wave. All of those terrible people who refuse to wear the mask and do social distancing and wear plastic gloves and wash your hands and stay away and self-quarantine, all of you people are to blame for the second wave. You see where we're going? We'll just have to see. It's going to be slow. It's going to be incremental, but I can guarantee you it will be relentless. It will be steady. It is driven. Anyway, I got to get out of here. I have an appointment in about 20 minutes, but I thank you for having me on the show. And hopefully Apple, Uniblack Sister, Bendita Busta, New Being, Webster Report, all you folks out there, thank you for listening. And I got to go.
It's yeah, it really has been a pleasure as usual. And we'll let you get off. You've got 20 minutes to well, I hope it. Yes,
it is what it is.
You take care, guys. We'll speak to you again very soon. Hopefully.
Okay. Thanks again.
Dave Vonkleist, there you go. The creator of 9/11 in Plain Sight and 9/11 Ripple Effect. So thanks to him. What did you reckon, Jace? You didn't get much in. Is that my fault?
What's that, mate?
I was just saying you didn't get much in. Is that my fault, or we're just
no.
listening?
All by that out, didn't it? Yeah, I've got a few questions I would have asked him, but he'd got his stuff to say, hadn't he? So I wouldn't mind maybe if he's on again. A couple of questions I'd have asked him. Some I'd seen in chat as well. I wondered what his views on some other theories around 9/11 might have been, like Judy Wood's directed energy weapons and the no plane theory, whether he's open-minded to any of that or just sees it as disinformation or whatever. So.
Yeah, interesting. We've been speaking to. We've spoken to him before. I don't know. I think what he's the way that he comes from it is that he asks the questions. You know, do you? What would he ask questions rather to put together a story rather than making statements and saying this is true and this and this and this and this is this. Who? Jason Green asked us. I don't know what that means. Jason Green asked us.
I mean, for me, I know I think you've had Judy Woods on, haven't you?
Yeah, we had Judy Wood on twice. Once it got really. We got really bad reception with him, and we had to cancel it. And I think we rescheduled for the following week, and we were on then. So yeah, you can find that. I think that were with me and Andy, and we had Andrew Johnson on and Judy Wood at the same time. So it was quite an interesting story, but perhaps a more interesting story behind the scenes rather than in front of the scenes. If you, well, you won't know what I mean. Chris O'Rourke has said, "What's your take on Q, Jason?"
Mine, yeah, I agree with what Dave was saying. Actually, I think it's like a false hope thing. You know, we start thinking someone's working in the background and going to save us all. I've said it's similar to like people think Christ's going to come back and save us all from our sins, kind of thing. It's waiting for something what's not going to happen. I'm trying to think who was that guy who reckoned to be involved in Japanese secret societies, and he said they were working their way to bring down like Freemasons and all that kind of thing. But I can't remember his name. But yeah, false hope, I think, the QAnon is my view.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, Watson, shut up, you dickhead. Kim Watson. Hey, I tell you, listen, if anybody wants to come on and give some shout, not you, Yoni, because you're just like, just come on in, you're fucking sat in there in your underpants eating pizzas and, and that sort of thing. So, and then, picking things out of your belly button. Anybody wants to come on and just have a chat with us about anything, really. How's it been on false flags and media hoaxes recently, Jason?
To be quite honest, I've not been on it that much lately. I think I've got a few people doing admin stuff, and they usually beat me to it. Bringing
I'm
members.
one of them, aren't
I? Yeah, you are.
I am.
Yeah, I've been more involved in another group. I've been made admin on a UK against lockdown group, so I've been in that more than anything. But saying that, for the last 5 days or so, I've been having a bit of a break from it all because it was doing me head in, to be honest.
But you've been working throughout this whole COVID thing. You've been working, haven't you? You're what they describe as a key worker.
Yeah, I do like social care. I'm a support worker for people with various mental health needs, that kind of thing. So yeah, I've just kept working through it, same as ever, doing different shifts. Because lady who works when I'm not working nights, she's had to go off sick because she's high risk, got that COPD, so she's had to go off for 3 months. So all my shifts are a bit different, but otherwise I'm working as before. So yeah, I'd rather that actually, because to be honest, life's pretty much the same for me. All I really do is go to work, and I'm not one for going to pubs and things and restaurants and going out for coffee. So I'm not really doing anything different, except there's no school runs and stuff to do. But yeah, it's just sad to see, isn't it? As I said last time,
what's your vision been of it? If you've been driving about in it, just of this last month, say for example, have you noticed like a downturn in traffic and how things have been going? And have you noticed difference? Because you say you work in care. Have you noticed a difference in the people that you're caring for?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as I said, the people with mental health problems and stuff, it's definitely made things worse for them. They're suffering, because they'd have like routines where they go and visit their family, go and spend like a couple of nights with families and stuff like that, and they're not doing. And it's causing a lot of problems. And I'm not surprised suicide rates and everything's going up, and assaults and things, because yeah, it's not good. It's affecting a lot of people in a bad way, this lockdown.
Oh yeah, God, it's affecting me, and I'm not locked down. I've always been mostly always for the last couple of years been stuck in the house, so it's not really affecting me, but personally, but it does affect me. I mean, my wife's working from home, so the stress that she gets from work is implanting itself on me, and and I find myself just going for a snooze for half an hour, just get out of the way. So it is it's getting everyone down. There are a lot of people. I mean, you saw the woman that tried to jump out of the bus on Stanford Road, I think it were. Did you see that one?
No, I've not, to be honest. No.
Obviously got mental health issues. She's on a bus. She thinks it's too crowded, and just basically freaks out and tries to jump out of the fire escape on the back of the top deck of the bus, and try to jump out because she thinks she's going to get COVID. So, we're
yeah. I mean, even some quite sane people are, affected in like that. It's hysteria, isn't it? So that's how it works. Somebody's asking me in chat, what's my opinion on the 2-meter rule? Well, I think it's ridiculous, isn't it? Because when you're in a shop, you're walking past somebody, you can't maintain it. So it's just a joke. I said it's like a silly game, as Simon says. It's like Simon says, stand 2 meters apart. Simon says, wear a mask. It's all pointless. There's no reason to it. So ridiculous. That's my opinion. I'm just going to go and grab my charger because it looks like my phone's going to conk out.
No, for fuck's sake. Do you know, this week I've had no but fucking bad luck. I've had guests that don't turn up. I've had a guest that just comes on and wants and can only do an hour. And now my fucking guest co-host is running out of electricity. It's Raconteurs News with Jason Holmes and Jason Green. This evening we've had Dave Vonkleist on earlier on, and we were talking about 9/11. We were talking about coronavirus and what's going on in America. It sounds pretty much like the same stuff is going on in the US of America as is going on here, and we're just allowing this fucking dog shit. In other news, because we are Raconteurs News, so we're going to get some news in. In other news, a crocodile. I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but you know that's just headlines. But a crocodile has been spotted. Here's the funny thing about this: is the guy who's spotted this crocodile at a nature reserve in West Yorkshire. This 4-foot crocodile. I mean, what the fuck a 4-foot crocodile is going to do to you? I don't know. Well, it probably nip you or something. But I won't want to face one anyway. But anyway, he says it says he's a photographer, but he didn't manage to get a photograph of it. And he says he doesn't care what other people think. He knows what he saw. So it's like some guy. Some guy's like gonna say, like, well, I spotted some aliens, but then again thought, hang on a minute, aliens is perhaps a little bit, a bit too much. Perhaps if I just go down to crocodiles,
be a newt.
Fucking
a big newt.
I noticed there's people raising their ugly heads again. Since this coronavirus, this COVID-19, people, they are raising their ugly heads again. Like Ben Fellows is back. I don't know if you know about that. He's got a new name now. I think he's called fucking something like fucking Temple fucking shitwank. But anyway, when he comes crawling back, you just know, don't you, that all he's after is he's thinking about that this is a crisis that money can be made from. Whatever. Yeah. With QAnon, it's been interesting. I've been getting these notifications, and like I said yesterday, I think it's what Andy were, some of that Andy had subscribed to before I took over the channel. And they keep, like you say, it's like it's a 10-week plan, and then you get to end at 10 weeks, and they keep sending these fucking things out, and then they say, right, it's almost going to happen. This is what's going to happen, and it's keeping you hanging on. I think that's the impression I got from QAnon. Anyway, I don't know what.
Yeah. I've not looked much into the QAnon. I just got the impression it were just, a waste of time, a distraction. So I've not really listened or looked into it that much since. So, I mean, what's people's general impressions in the chat? Do people believe in the QAnon thing? Because I think most people I know closer to believe is, not what it reckons to be. So a bit of a hoax, really, if anything. Is that people's general feeling?
We're queuing on. I mean, just you've got to give some sort of fucking. You can't be sat there telling us all this stuff and then not give us anything, but tell us it's coming next week. but then next week say, oh no, oh my God, if you don't fucking what we were going to tell you this week is good, wait till what we're going to tell you next week is. And then it just goes on and on and on like that. And I just saw, yeah, Tom says QAnon is a hoax. So does a few people. PSYOP says Dean Yates. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say as well. I don't know. I don't know about their. Who's just coming in our house? Oh, where you been? All right, sorry. Did you go out and pick it up? No. Have you kicked it? Anyway, sorry about that. I just heard the door go downstairs and I thought, oh, fucking hell, what that is. But it's can't be in that in. Misfire says, simple manners have gone. I held the door open for a gent behind me as I entered the post office. And he held back to keep the distance from the distance. The door slammed, and he didn't want to touch it. I mean, exactly. It's what we've come to, innit? You know, we've got people that are happy. Do you know? I don't even know what they are. Why would you wear a face mask? I mean, why? Would you wear a face mask's not going to save you from it's not a gas mask, is it? And did you see the thing that Mark Devlin brought up as well today? The Google, the new Google image, and it were kids going off on trains with little suitcases, people being apart from them. I don't know. I mean, I did say it could be because we've just had VE Day. It could be something to celebrate the kids coming back from being evacuated. You know, back at World War II. That's probably maybe what it is, and that's probably what they'd say it were. But you know, Mark Devlin, it certainly stirred something up when he posted about that. I don't know if you saw it. What's your thoughts on that, Jace?
I didn't see that, no. Is that like the Google image thing they have on the homepage? It always changes, doesn't it? They have a theme.
Yeah. When the Olympics were on, they were all them fucking hoops and that.
Yeah. No, I've not seen that one.
Well,
so what's it seem to be suggesting?
Well, let me see if I can find it. If I find it, let me just find it. Let me go to Google. Oh, there we go. Found it. Let me just share with you. I'm going to share I'm going to share the screen so you can see what it is. Share screen. Application window. That one I would imagine. Share. Can you see anything there? No, there is there.
Something. No, it's just a black spot.
I'll find it. I'll get it. Hang on. Stop sharing. Right. Share my screen. Right. Oh, there we go. Right. So I'll share my screen now. Application window, Chrome tab. New tab, that one. Share. There you go. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. I'll wait till it comes up on my tablet. It's lagging a bit, but I can see it bigger on that. Oh yeah.
We've got
yeah,
Google.
It's like parents saying goodbye to the children. Yeah.
It could be that, or like I said, how they would probably put it is that it's kids coming back from being evacuated during war. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
that could work either way. Yeah.
But you know, yeah, you see these kids are distanced. This bloke and this kid are not touching each other, and then there's this. They're obviously coming off the train, not going on. So you know, it's not like.
Yeah.
apparently it says Nicholas Winton's 111th birthday. I wonder what that means. Nicholas Winton. There we go. Okay, can you see that?
Can't read it. I can see it, but
You could, right? All right. Well, I'll read it. Hang on. Let me just make sure I'm on. There it's there you go. It's on that. So, Sir Nicholas George Winton, MBE. I'm not. This is the first time I've seen it. The 19th of May 1909 to 1st of July 2015, was a British humanitarian who established an organisation to rescue children at risk from Nazi Germany born to German Jewish parents. So it's more Jewish sort of war propaganda than anything else, isn't it? Really. So can you see what it is? Yeah. He went unnoticed by the world for over 50 years until 1988, when he was invited to the BBC television programme That's Life, where he was reunited with several of the children he had saved. Now,
I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Oh, I don't remember that.
I've seen, probably not at the time when it happened, but I've seen clips of it happening since. I think it's on YouTube. It's like one of these moments, you know, when they have the Remembrance Day for Auschwitz and all that. It often comes up on Facebook, the clip of that happening. So, yeah, a bit of propaganda.
Yeah, nice bit of propaganda as well. Yeah, Google. Who'd have thunk it? Eh? Google on that part. It's a shame we didn't get more time with Dave, but you know, we're glad for the time that we had with him, and it is part of something I want to do. I want to be doing is some 9/11, because if you think about it, this is where this all started. Where you are now, sat in your house, where you can't go out, and you can't go to the pub, you can't go. This all started on September 11, 2001. That's where this all began. The Homeland Security Act that happened just after that, which happened in October, I think, which was something like 40,000 pages that had supposedly been written between the attacks themselves and the at the time that the document were released. So I've been wanting to do some good old, because there's some good stuff, 9/11 truth stuff that people these days would absolutely love. They'd absolutely love, but they don't get to see it because it's stuck in all this like over fucking burden of information.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's because when I discovered, well, through 9/11 ripple effect, discovered 9/11 being an inside job, I thought within a few months, I thought I'd find out about it. You know, everyone's going to find out about it, and an old house of cards will come crumbling down. But I just think we've come further away from that now. Because they were like 9/11 and 7/7, it seemed like there were a lot of focus on that, and maybe it was going to get exposed. And then there's been so many false flags and things since, haven't they? 9/11's kind of got forgotten about.
I don't know if you've seen it. I've not seen it yet. I might watch it actually tonight after we're finished. But apparently Richard Deal's got a new one out, video out about Manchester. The Manchester bomb.
Yeah, I watched that other night. It's worth a watch. That anybody's out there wanting something to watch, if you go on Rich Planet, Richard Deal's latest documentary, it's really good.
So what you meant? Go on. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, I think it's called Night of the Bang. I think is this documentary he's done. It's in 3 parts on his website. So yeah, I've if any Facebook users go on false flags and media hoaxes, I've posted it recently. I'll give it a bump, so find it there if nowhere else. But yeah, it's easy enough to find on his website, Richard D. Hall's Rich Planet. So yeah, it's good.
I've not seen it. I might watch it tonight. Is there all 3 parts out, or is there just 1 part out at the moment?
Yeah, at least overnight they're all 3 parts. Yeah, 3 or 4 parts.
Oh, good. Give me. I always enjoy Richard D. Hall's stuff. I mean, it's. I don't know what to make of him, but you know, I've got no reason to think that you know, he's up to all dodgy. What do you make of this stuff with David Icke? I mean, he's been censored, but he seems to be fucking everywhere.
Yeah, it's how it works. So, isn't it? The more they censor people, the more attention it seems to bring them. So, I mean, I agree with probably 90% of the things he's saying, but it's that 10% into what, you know, what gets him. I don't know. It's the 5G stuff, basically, isn't it? I question that. Some of the 5G stuff he's come out with.
I've not seen that actually.
Yeah, I mean, linking the COVID to 5G and stuff, you know, which maybe there's something in it. I don't know, but I think that's what's got him censored into talking about
that. Well, I mean, what do you make of the 5G? Because you've got fucking dickheads like Nosebleed, fucking what's his face, Garrett, and Mark Steele. Bollocks! I meant to bring my dark glasses up tonight. Oh, here we go. How we do not give me fucking nosebleeds through the radio, the receptors. I'm an expert in webcam fucking technology, and I'm telling you that that fucking webcam is going to kill you. It's going to kill you. You know why you don't hear bees anymore? Because you're fucking deaf. Because the webcam's fucking made you deaf. Fucking silly cunt. Fucking hellfire. Anyway, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I did wonder if maybe they'll hide. Maybe they wonder if it might cause some illness. 5G, it might kill some people or whatever, and they can hide it all behind this coronavirus. But I don't know. I don't know if there's any connection.
Oh, you're a bit, you know, really bothered, are you? Are you that bothered?
Not bothered. We'll wait and see, because to be honest, I think the 5G, probably, as we know, Wi-Fi and all this lot, it's not really good for us health, is it? It's, you know, to minimise your usage and stuff. It's just another thing to add to it, pollution, and it's just another thing to damage us health. I don't think it's going to wipe us out like a lot of people seem to think. You know, they're going to use it in combination with a vaccine and then 5G us all to death at some point. I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows?
Well, I mean, you get people talking about 5G and talking about how it's give the kids nosebleeds. But what they don't mention is what they've done is they've cracked them in face, all the kids. Because Ice Cream Man had come and fucking didn't want them to have any ice creams at all. But that's something I heard. So I can't what's the word? I can't confirm that position.
No. What?
Lee Garrett's under. I knew somebody did say. That Lee Garrett has now stopped saying nosebleeds and started saying bleeding from the nose. So I don't know if we've had that sort of effect on him. You look like you're wearing a crown. Is that a crown you're wearing?
Yeah. Oh, it's at the top of the thing there. wall hanging at that angle. Yes.
Misfire says, is there links for Jason Green and Dave, who was on before? Yeah, if you go on Facebook, Misfire, Jason Green, his channel is False Flags and Media Hoaxes. And you can find it on there. If you just search Dave Vonkleist, you'll find all sorts of stuff. I don't think he stays in one place. He's not got a website. I don't think he's got a YouTube account or anything like that. I think he's just does his stuff on Facebook. So you can find him on social media all over the place.
Yeah, I found Dave on Facebook. Yeah, there's I'm looking at what were on YouTube about him, and some of his music's on there. I was listening to him play Born to Be Wild other day. Then I had it as an earworm for the last few days. I've had Born to Be Wild in my head all the time.
Oh no, man! And that would all cost for him.
Yeah,
what do you
a lot
think
to answer for.
Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, there's a lot to answer for us, Dave.
Yes. Do you have a YouTube channel, Jason?
Do I?
Yeah.
I have got one. I don't really post, that kind of stuff on it. I've got a couple of videos. One where there's a local ghost hunter, and he reckoned he'd caught a ghost on camera. So I went and debunked his ghost caught on camera. That's I've got a couple of videos on that. So I don't really do false flag type stuff on that now. What's my other ones? I've got I've got a beehive in garden, and one's like a swarm of bees coming to my hive, and one other video or making some Syrian roti of all things. So that's my YouTube channel. But yeah, quite welcome to find me and subscribe if you like. You can learn how to make Syrian roti.
Certainly can. Well, I think we've just about covered everything today, haven't we? I've got tomorrow night's show to do still. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, what happened? Sorry.
Go on.
What happened last night? Because I only caught about last half an hour of show expecting to see Max, but I gather he didn't turn up. So what happened?
No, it was quite early in the morning for him. So unfortunately, he slept in.
All right.
I did send him a message and said it's no problem. We can reschedule. But I've not heard all back. But to be honest with you, I'm not that bothered. To be fair, he's only going to come on my show and say exactly what he's saying on all other shows, and I might get a few more views because it's Max Egan, but. I think I'm probably going to leave it at that. For a start, that's twice. I did say last night that he's never let us down before, but there was one show that I did remember from back in the day, not that long ago, but it was with not Max Egan. So Max Egan was supposed to be on and he not turned up.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So since that, now that's the second time. I would what I would have done it because we're in these times. I would have done it at a more convenient time for him. But he just, it's very sterile with how he deals with people, and he's very. I don't think that. If I'm John LeBon, who I had on recently, he said to me, I'd love to get you on after. We were talking afterwards, and he said, oh my God, I didn't know this about you, I didn't know that about you. He said, I thought you were just like a YouTuber. So I'll get you on my show. We love talking 9/11 stuff. We got low at like, and for me, I remember that. I think for Max, it's just that it gets that he's doing so many. I was a bit spooked that when I did a search for Max Egan interviews, just on the day leading up to doing the interview with him, and he'd done an interview, and it were 15 hours ago, so it were about the same time as I was going to do it, but the following morning in Australia, but the following night here. And so I did watch that, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that I didn't cover anything that had already been covered in that. I wanted to try and get something different out. I didn't want it to be just to be an echo chamber. So I'd watched that show, and I you know, I did no disrespect, but the guy didn't give much of, and I probably don't half the time, give people as much of a grilling as they should get. But the guy didn't really give him anything. It was just the same stuff, and it were for about an hour. And so I'm now of the opinion that because this is the second time that this has happened, I think that it don't really matter to Max where he is or what he's doing it with, or he's just on every single fucking show. So I don't think I'll bother. I spoke to him a couple of times. He's not got, you know, he says it's pretty much the same stuff every time that you'd expect him to say. Right? You know, it's just I don't value the information that he's going to give us that's extra to, you know, that's to other people. If we've just got the same information on our show as any other show, it fucking loses its appeal. It loses its uniqueness. So I want to ask different questions. And so when somebody don't come on and really, because I like everybody knows, I don't really take this show very seriously. I'm not fucking, I sit here and I have a joint and I have a drink and that. But, you know, when I do sit down and I make notes, and I make like 3 pages of notes about stuff so that I can make do an interview that hopefully nobody's seen before, and ask questions that hopefully nobody's heard before of Mike's. And then it just weren't there. So. And then, and I did say last night, you know, he's probably got his reasons, he's slept in or what have you. But again, it's the second time. So, Tom says, Jason, have you ever had Mark Windows on the show? Or Piers Corbyn? No, I've not had Piers Corbyn on. And I've definitely not had Mark Windows on. I'd rather interview Watson than Mark Winders. Watson would probably speak a little bit more sense than Mark Winders. There's a long past between myself and Mark Winders, which I'm not really prepared to go into, but I don't like him. And he don't like me. Simple as that. He tried to get me chucked off this fucking format. This Raconteurs News, when this first started 4 years, Mark Windows, the cunt Mark Windows, or whatever he fucking calls himself these days, tried to get me chucked off this fucking platform. And 4 years later, I'm still here. So no, I haven't fucking interviewed Mark Windows. And as far as I'm concerned, Mark Windows can go and fuck himself. He's about as fucking useful as a fucking abandoned wank. I don't know. Sorry. Agnostic Gnostic like you says, can you see this? Lampposts have, let me put it on one of the lampposts have sub gigahertz stealth I'm sure that's probably weaponry, etc. Some official bod checked and said no. Nobody else in the world with a microwave detector has found a lamppost zapping us. Well, that's true. It's not been happening, has it? It's not been happening. I don't know why.
Annie Logical did a test, didn't she, with somebody from with a machine, but then I think they backtracked, didn't they, and said, I don't know.
I don't know, because Annie Logical just one day disappeared from my radar and just didn't come back.
Yeah, I know.
I think I'm the only person to piss her off twice, because she came back once and then came on again, and then I fucking pissed her off again for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway.
When you had him on that targeted, what do they call it?
Targeted individual.
Yeah, when you had him on, they had a bit of a fallout, didn't they? Yeah. Oh, that were it.
Who had a fallout? Who was
that? Annie Logical and that guy had on the targeted individual.
Joe Public.
Oh, no, that were it. Yeah.
No, that weren't that. It weren't Joe Public.
No.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got her to do what I asked you to do today, and be a guest presenter. It was after Webby left, and she came on, and instead of talking and trying to ask somebody questions and get answers from them, she just went fucking nuts on 5G on him for no reason. I can't even remember who it were, but I was really fucking flabbergasted by that, and just said, when I'm not going to be doing that for you again, Annie. I mean, you just can't hold your stand down. So, yeah.
I forgot his name. I can remember his face, but yeah, can't remember his name.
Anyway, listen, let's cut this short because I'm knackered. I want to go downstairs. I'm going to get myself a drink, a joint. I'm going to get myself ready for tomorrow night's show. Let my dog out for a piss and shit and what have you. Big thanks to you, Jason, for joining us tonight, for helping guest host. And I'm just ashamed you didn't get more questions in.
Yeah, next time.
Next time, and there will be a next time as well. Big thank you to everybody who's been watching and joining in the chat room. Thank you, everybody. Tomorrow night, I've got Raj Mahay from Wolverhampton. His mum was killed in 1989, and he's been trying to get some justice ever since. It's something that I always wanted to do when I started this, is that I didn't just want to just try and get, the Max Egans on and Dave Vonkleist, but I wanted people who didn't get any exposure. I wanted them to get a bit. So listen to that tomorrow night, because I've spent an hour talking to him last week, and it's a heartbreaking story, and it's very interesting, the reactions of the police and how they're trying to cover it up, and there's a lot of parallels with Hillsborough. They happened in the same year, and there were a lot of parallels that were going on at that time. So listen to that. That's tomorrow night. Thanks for tonight to Jason and to Dave Vonkleist. Jason, what do you want to say before we go?
Just thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure to meet Dave. As I say, he's the guy who woke me up when we first looked down the rabbit hole. And if it wasn't for him and that documentary, I don't think I'd be sat here now talking to you.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that it can take away, and we all can take away, is that we are now in this age. We've got access to these people. You know, we can talk to somebody who's in Minnesota and talk about something that we saw years ago, and where you never thought that you'd ever see that person or talk to them or anything. And we've got this age where we can do that. Hopefully we can do it more and more. We can keep talking to each other, and hopefully we'll get through this lockdown together, this lockup or whatever it is. So anyway, thank you to everyone in the chat room. Give us a thumbs up if you can, please. That would be great. Or a thumbs down if you didn't like it, if you hated it. That is not a problem. We love you all. We'll see you we'll see you tomorrow night. Take it easy.
Thank you.